Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, being the assistant prosecuting attorney, he's pretty familiar with law. So he goes home. The cops show up at his house, and his wife is getting there, and they're like, "Hey, let's give him a call." So they call, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know who has my car. I don't know who had it." Blah blah blah, making up lies pretty much. And the cops are like, "Okay, well, we can't come in," which is kind of weird because I know a few houses they would have went right in, but they didn't go in that guy's house, which I think is a little weird. But the guy refuses to come out. I'm not coming out. You have to have a warrant to come in here. And so the next day, he goes down and he turns himself in, and they don't even make him do a blood alcohol test. Like, they don't do a draw, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got fined $350.
That's it.
Yeah. And that has a lot of people.
What was he charged with?
Leaving the scene of an accident for the hit and run with the when he backed into that car or whatever. That's it.
Wow. Yeah, that's... Why didn't you bring that up right now?
Why didn't I?
Why did you?
Oh, because I want to talk about it.
Oh.
Why?
Okay. No, it was just... I'd never heard about it, and I just wanted interested in where it's going.
Yeah, well, it was in the paper the other day or whatever online when I saw it. But at first I was like, man, F that dude. Who does he think he is? And like a lot of people were thinking that too. And then I wrote on there that I'm glad that he didn't kill anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad he didn't like take a family down with him. And I am thankful that I didn't kill anybody and that, I just hit a dumpster, I think. I don't even know. And I'm glad that I told the cop, because the cop didn't see me driving the car either. Like I was that confident and that drunk that I the cop didn't see me. Some other dude did. And it's my word against his word. And the cop didn't get there for, 5 minutes after, and the chick was driving.
You're also not a prosecuting attorney of a major city either.
No, and I also did not just go into my apartment. I thought, I'll just wait right out here for him. I could have just went in my apartment. Right. And I would have played the same game. Nope, not coming out.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I didn't, and I'm glad I told that cop that he couldn't take me to jail. Because that's, I think, what really did it. Me just looking at him like, you can't take me to jail. And then all of a sudden his body cam's not working that night. Because he knew, like, legally, I don't think he had any cause to take me to jail. Common sense, yeah, I was driving. Let's take his ass to jail. Mm-hmm. And sometimes common sense does prevail, and it was a blessing for me. And where I'm at now is all a reflection of that time. And where I'm getting at is the assistant prosecuting attorney, being in jail, serving time, as well as I know, maybe, what you do a day, 6 hours, who knows, and you're on probation for a year. You think that's really going to change his view? But the fact that he realized how close he came to being some of those people he's trying to put away, hopefully makes him kind of wake up a little bit. And I think, God wants him there doing what he's doing for that reason. Otherwise, he might have been taken away. I don't think the guy's a bad guy. I don't know him. Maybe he is a bad guy. But I think he'll do more good doing what he's doing right now instead of being in jail. I will say that 98% of the time. Jail does not do anything for anybody. Maybe like if you're a murderer or hardcore with it, but if it's an addiction related crime, I don't think jail is gonna help you. It's not, in my professional opinion as a radio broadcaster. But I think help is what people need, and hopefully that guy will kind of realize that and go, man, maybe he does have a problem. Maybe it was just a one night one-time thing. I don't know. But I don't know. I just kind of looked at it a little bit different. I brought that up last night in Gaylord. It's not Gaylord. And at the NA meeting, and the guy was like, "Oh, that's a different way to look at it, I guess."
Yeah. Well, you talked about this, I think, the other night with Chris.
Oh, did I?
About jail and what, maybe it was the one before. Anyway, about, like, the effectiveness of, like, jail sentencing or prison or whatever, for, offenses that are substance abuse related, or substance use related, rather. And I completely agree with you 100%. I mean, I think I've been in jail, if you want to say, like, so, like, what is it really, what does it do, right? It's a repercussion, it's a consequence for my actions, right? Mm-hmm. For, you do something that's wrong, that's dangerous, I was driving under the influence. Mm-hmm. So they need to, by law, tell me that's wrong. I mean, after a certain amount of hours, I'm no longer technically, medically, would be a threat to get behind the car, the wheel of a car. But in theory, they're trying to teach you a lesson. And then whatever the aftermath is of that, I think, is what people pay more attention to. But that's just because it's probation, or it's, court-assigned, so on and so forth. But I think that the punitive route to get to recovery is, I don't know if there's even any real statistics on that. Like, if you lock somebody up or something, like, what keeps people from reoffending, from not getting behind the wheel of a car? Because I don't ever want to go back to jail again for 90 days or however many months.
No, I don't think so.
That's not why people recover from, or are in recovery, excuse me.
And, yeah.
I mean, that's just, think of how many times people drive intoxicated or under the influence of something until they actually get caught. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a scary number. And, it's like, once people finally get caught, it's because it's not like, oh, I've never ever driven drunk before. Right. It's so crazy that they just caught me here, and I just blew a .2 or whatever driving. I don't ever drive drunk. I mean, that person's most likely, chances are, they've driven drunk before, and they most likely have an issue that needs to be dealt with.
Right.
But the problem is they're putting these people in jail, giving them consequences for breaking the law, because it is dangerous. You're putting yourself at risk. You're putting others at risk. But then nothing's being followed up with what the real problem is. The real problem is chances are they need to address their relationship with alcohol or drugs. And that's where I think that they're dropping the ball. I think people would agree for the most part. That's true.
And I think all treatment centers, if I was on the Trump campaign or the board, whatever, if I worked for him, he wouldn't fire me. He'd pay me a lot of money, probably. But he should, in my opinion, as a radio broadcaster and professional, make every rehab or any treatment center dual diagnosis and treat the mental as well as the addiction part. Because I don't even know what they mean by we only treat the addiction part. What? You mean like the mental part? Like, I don't get it.
There's a lot of dispute.
There's this nasty Chinese restaurant up here in northern Michigan, and of course that's analogy. But they don't do the mental part, but yet they take people that clearly are affected. I mean, clearly affected, and there's nothing they can do for them. It's almost as bad as jail, because you look at them and you're like, yeah, they're going to come right back or they're going to die. And now, and what's dangerous about going to a rehab is, especially for people who use heroin to cope with their life stressors, when they're clean for 3 months and then go back out and try to use the same amount, it's dangerous. I mean, it's dangerous for alcoholics too, because when I would go back out and drink, and I say out, I don't mean like out in the public. I mean, just go drink at home alone with my half gallons. I would drink like I had never stopped. And that's when the blackouts come for me. And, losing days, that's scary. But the same thing, for the heroin guy or woman is they can die from that, so it's kind of like you're not doing a good service to anybody by, let me have you in here and you can BS around, play some grab ass, and good luck. You're going to make it. You didn't address anything. Like, I don't know. It bothers me. And I really hope that somebody can maybe take a look at that a little deeper. And I don't know, maybe it'll be me sending a letter to Trump's. I'll tell my mom said hi. Yeah.
She's
this big
the
hater.
thing is, the problem is that there's a huge issue with misdiagnosis when you're dealing with like behavioral, like co-occurring disorders in general. I can't remember what the statistics. I hate it. You're right. I say that all the time. Like I'm sure there are statistics out there, but I don't know what they are. But I mean, you look at co-occurring disorders, and then there's something about like that. If you take X amount of people that, let's say bipolar, people that are bipolar, and then you have X amount of people that are diagnosed with substance abuse disorder, and the overlap of those. I mean, because there are people that are bipolar and have no issue with substance abuse, and there's also people that have substance abuse that have no issue with bipolar. But the overlap of those two are more common than you would think. So what they're trying to look at now is when these people are coming in, there's also tends to be common misdiagnosis because, I mean, people are coming in and they are so messed up on alcohol or drugs, and their body is not working right. Their brain is not working right, physically, mentally, emotionally. So lots of times they don't even know what they're really feeling, what their body chemistry, because their body chemistry has not been normal for so long, that when they're trying to be, talk to a doctor and they're saying, do you have hallucinations? Do you hear voices? So on. When people have been through what they've been through for years, even, I mean, daily use and stuff like that, their answers are sometimes leading these therapists to prescription drugs to treat something that is actually something that has an onset because of substance abuse. That was actually told to me by a therapist. I didn't make that up. So,
Well, and I'll be honest with you, for me, because I came to that point where when doctors like, well, you're borderline bipolar and this and that, I wanted to be bipolar. I wanted it to be something other than me being an alcoholic and can never drink again. I wanted it to be something wrong with me. It's not just my willpower. It's because, I've been told that, well, just stop drinking, just stop. I wanted them to find something wrong that makes sense. Yep, that's why I drink. That's why I can't stop. That's it. Mm-hmm. I didn't want it to be the reality of it, which
stigma.
Yeah, and that was, earlier in my recovery, and on the journey to recovery, through recovery, however you want to put it. But I really did. I was just, and, then I could explain away so many things, and, it makes sense. And then, like it would be okay, like you said, like the stigma of being an alcoholic or, being an addict. No, I don't want to be that, Mm-hmm. Put me as bipolar. Put me as crazy. Whatever you need to do, because then people can understand.
Chemical imbalance in the brain.
Then they'll understand, because I got this chemical imbalance, and it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? I'm crazy. Can I still drink?
Right.
Yeah, okay, just on the weekends. Perfect. No, but that is 100% truth, though. That's really what I was thinking at the time. Now looking back, I think it's silly. I'm glad that I had this one doctor look at me, and I'm like, "Well, put me on something." He's like, "No." He's like, "We're slowing," and this was, I don't know, probably